what is happening right now between Iran and the United States, the war that we were talking about it before. And now everything is happening. We saw what has happened so far and what is happening as we talk. And how do you see the situation? The United States started together with Israel, started with decapitation, as they call the so-called decapitation, the assassination of the leader of Iran, supreme leader of Iran, which is of particular importance for Iran and for the whole region, and the some commanders in Iran. How did you see the strategy of the United States and the way that the war is going right now?
Well, let me put it this way. The United States provided Israel with intelligence about the location of Ali Khamenei and other senior Iranian figures. And the first 6 missiles fired by Israel, the first 6 missiles hit Ali Khamenei's residence, killing him and, by some accounts, up to 40 other Iranians, many of whom were senior leadership officials. Now, the goal of this campaign is regime change. And as we have discussed, and I believe I'm on record with you saying that the first thing that will be done is a decapitation strike, and that the number one target would be Ali Khamenei. And I said, I think we're going to kill him. And we did. Now, does this mean we won the war? No, it means the exact opposite. The first 6 missiles that were fired, which successfully carried out a decapitation strike, guaranteed that the United States and Israel will lose this war. They didn't hunt down Ali Khamenei as he was trying to hide from American missiles. You don't get to make the case that this was a coward running away, trying to hide from a fate that was going to be dealt to the Iranian people. You don't have to be the greatest intelligence analyst in the world to find Ali Khamenei at home, publicly available information, meeting openly with other people. We made this man a martyr. And when I say this man, understand that this is the second most revered figure in Shia Islam, the Twelver ideology. The only person that has a higher stature, at least in the eyes of some, would be Sistani, the Grand Ayatollah out of Najaf, Iraq. But Ali Khamenei, again, a lot of people don't understand when we say Vilayati Faqih. I may be mispronouncing that. I hope I said it right. I've practiced it. But the guardianship of the supreme jurist, it's a religious approach that was embraced widely by Ayatollah Khomeini when he created the Islamic Republic. But the notion that, yes, Iran is a constitutional republic, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's also an Islamic republic. And therefore, under the Twelver faith, and I don't want to get too much into theology because A, I might get it wrong because I'm not a theologist, and I don't want, and B, we're going down the wrong path. But, the Shia faith is premised on the notion that when Hussein died in the Battle of Karbala, that was the last legitimate imam. And now they are waiting for the return of the Mahdi. And it was a Jesus-like figure. The imam in hiding will come back, and all this. It's their faith, and you have to respect that. But the point is, so in the interim,
Scott, and that they say that he's gonna come with Jesus, and they're gonna come together.
Yes, I know that. I'm not mocking anything. It plays me. When I laugh, I'm not laughing at the religion. I'm laughing at my own fundamental ignorance. I've studied this stuff. I really have. I've read everything I can read, but I am so tired right now that when we deal with reality, and especially when we deal with historical reality, there are nuances. I learned a long time ago, even when speaking about the Shia faith, the interpretation of what Hussein did at the Battle of Karbala, was it an act of martyrdom? Was it an act of selfishness? It's been interpreted over the years by different people. So then what you have to do is dig even deeper into it to find out which interpretation adheres more closely to reality, as opposed to, people trying to spin data to, so you have to dig even deeper than that. And so I have spent a large part of my life trying to solve these problems, these and similar problems. And so when I laugh, it's just a reflection of the fact that I'm exhausted and I'm trying to dig deep into an already addled brain and pull data up, and my brain's just in there going, meh, meh, meh. You're not going to access this. And so I laugh out of frustration to myself because, as I said, I didn't want to enter into this dialogue because I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared to go this deep. Normally, I would have done the research in awoken brain cells. But the point is, in Iran, when we deal with Vilayat Faqih, we've created the Shia of Iran have created a position of the guardianship of the supreme jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence, and this is a man who is the ultimate expression of the Shia faithful until the Mahdi returns. That's what they believe. You can mock it, do whatever. I will never mock it. I'm just saying that's what they believe, and you have to understand that. And many people do believe it. The 12er, adherence to the 12er, faction or whatever. I use wrong words here because I'm not trying to denigrate, but those because there's Ismailism, there's Niners. There's different ways to embrace the Shia faith, and 12er is the most popular, and it's dominant in Iran, it's dominant in Iraq, it's dominant in Azerbaijan. I think it's about a 50% adherence rate in Bahrain and elsewhere throughout. So when we speak of Ali Khamenei as the supreme jurisprudent, we're speaking of a man who is revered like the Pope amongst Catholics. This is not a human being. This is a symbol of God. This is part of their faith. And we assassinated him. We killed him. Now, if I were to put on my CIA advisor hat, I wouldn't work for them, but I've worked with them in the past. I know how they think. I understand how they approach problems. And if I were called upon to advise them, and I believed in what they were trying to do, I would have said the best way to collapse the Iranian regime is to keep Ali Khamenei alive in a bunker hiding from you. And so now you attack his courage. You attack his status as a man. You say what kind of man hides while the people of Iran pay the price for his sins? And you start denigrating him, attacking him, putting out AI-generated imagery of him doing vile things in vile ways. And the goal here is to collapse confidence within Iran to this man, and therefore to Vilayat Faqih, to the Islamic Republic. What you don't do is take a man who has openly said, I am frail, my body is failing, and my highest aspiration is to go out a martyr and give him the martyrdom he seeks. Ali Khamenei knew he was going to die when he held that meeting. Whether it was that day or the next day, he knew he was going to die. He willingly sacrificed himself because he knew what the outcome would be. He knew that by letting Israel and the United States murder him, that the Iranian people would rally around their faith like they have not rallied around their faith in a long time. Donald Trump, when announcing this operation, spoke of how the United States was going to create the conditions for the people of Iran to rise up and take matters into their own hands, but it would be up to the people of Iran. And so in order to do that, you have to collapse confidence in the government and have the people come out and say, we are ready to replace this government. Today in the cities of Iran, there are crowds of people out there filling the city squares, and they are shouting Khamenei's name, but they're not saying death to Khamenei. They're not saying down with Khamenei. They're saying long live the martyr Khamenei. God praise Khamenei. He is now a martyr, elevated to near sainthood status, and the Iranian people are rallying around him, and they're rallying around the cause of the Islamic Republic. We lost the war the moment we dropped those bombs or those missiles on Ali Khamenei's home. And that's what's happening right now. Everything else is just noise, because this is a regime change operation. And it was predicated on the notion that we would decapitate the regime physically. but we don't understand the true nature of this regime. It is an Islamic republic. As we speak, constitutionally, the Islamic Republic, this constitutional republic, this product of one of the most meaningful democratic exercises or expressions in the Middle East. Iran is the most legitimate democracy in the Middle East, the most legitimate democracy in the Middle East. And they have a government that adheres to the Constitution. Ali Khamenei is dead. Constitutionally, the president, the head of the judiciary, and a Islamic jurist selected by the Assembly of Experts create an emergency council. And that council has been created and is governing today. We haven't decapitated anything. You can't decapitate a system that believes in itself. If this was truly about one man, Ali Khamenei, then it'd be over. But this is an Islamic republic that is based upon faith and is based upon a constitution. And the constitution is functioning. And they have a replacement to fill the position of supreme jurisprudence until the Assembly of Experts selects another man. This is the way the system works. The Iranian system is working. So we've achieved nothing. We have decapitated nothing. We are focused on personalities while we disrespect the reality that the Islamic Republic is a system of faith, a system of laws founded in the Constitution. Maybe we, the American people who live in what is ostensibly supposed to be a constitutional republic, we have lost faith with our Constitution. We no longer function as a republic. Therefore, we're not in a position to recognize when a people who haven't lost faith with who they are and what they are adhere to their constitutional norms, values, and standards. And that's what the people of Iran are doing today. The streets are not filling with people seeking to be empowered by the vile perfidy of the United States and Israel. They're filled with people who are rallying around the cause of Iran, around the cause of the Islamic Republic, around their faith. And they will never be defeated.
Yeah. Scott, the war is happening, the Iranian response started with the Arab states, with the Persian Gulf and Arab states, and then expanded to Israel as well. It seems that the attacks are intensifying in the direction of Israel as time goes by. The major, because they wanted somehow to neutralize Arab states, then go after Israel. They started with that. And here is what General Petraeus said on CNN, is his assessment of that. What do the Arab states in the Persian Gulf have to go against Iran? Because they were begging to Iranian officials, let us hit some locations in the desert, and because we have to show something. Iran said, no, if you do that, you're going to be destroyed. This is the communication between the Arab states and Iran. And what is your understanding of that?
Well, first of all, David Petraeus is one of the dumbest men that walked the face of the earth. He should never have gotten 4 stars, let alone be the director of the CIA. He's a disgrace. And he just shows his ignorance of things. The Gulf Arab states were hit not because they're innocent, but because they're guilty. They provided basing for the United States of America that helped set up this conflict. And even though the United States may have temporarily withdrawn troops, there's still infrastructure in place that's plugged into an overall system. For instance, we may not have aircraft at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, but we do have a $1.1 billion, or I should say we had a $1.1 billion advanced radar system that was designed to detect Iranian missiles as they launch and feed that detection data into the ballistic missile defense system, protecting Israel and other air bases. So it is a party to the conflict. And the Qatari government didn't insist on it being shut down, dismantled, removed. It operated. The same thing holds with Kuwait. The same thing holds with Bahrain. The same thing holds with the United Arab Emirates. All these places that have been attacked are places that are home to American military installations that have an ongoing role. It's not an active role. And there are other things too. According to some reports, a CIA base of operations in Dubai has been struck because the CIA is actively, again, if people understand the region, I know you do, Dubai is a center of smuggling into and out of Iran. And the CIA is very active in using these smuggling routes to get resources in and out of Iran. So we have a major base there that talks to these Dow operators, that does this, coordinates with the United Arab Emirate government on anti-Iranian operations. The other thing is the Iranians know full well that while these nations were saying you can't use our airspace, you can't use this, behind their backs, they were telling the United States, if you're going to attack Iran, kill Iran, finish Iran, get rid of the Iranian regime. And so they were punished. They were punished up front. And it's a signal that we can punish you. Now, the funny thing, again, Petraeus just shows his absolute ignorance. They have aircraft in the air, and they will integrate with the Combined Operations Center and be flown. David, do you think that the Saudi Air Force is capable of launching a penetration mission into Iran and effectively striking targets? What targets would you give the Saudi Air Force? Because I can guarantee you this, those targets won't be hit, they won't be destroyed, the Saudi Air Force cannot perform. Just ask the Houthi, just ask the Yemeni. Saudi's been bombing the crap out of them since 2014 and achieved nothing because they're not very good. We gave them advanced aircraft, they're not very good. And now we're going to allow these Saudis to interfere with our air campaign, be disruptive of our air campaign? I think not. We've been down this road before. I just want to remind your audience, I've been there, done that, and I have the T-shirt, meaning that during the Gulf War, when Iraqi missiles started striking Gulf Arab states, these states were insistent on being allowed to participate in punitive attacks against Iraq for their national pride. And when we let them, they just screwed it up. I mean, we're talking about getting shot down because they're not very good. Running away in fear, that's another one. They would approach, see the air defense, and turn around and abort the mission, pickle their munitions, return home saying, we just couldn't make it. I think the airplane was hiccuping. Got to land, get it checked out. And it was very disruptive because targets that should have been struck on time to be part of the campaign progression weren't getting struck. And now we have to take assets in and restrike these targets, et cetera. We're not going to give these Arabs anything to attack because they're not any good. They don't know what they're doing. They can't do it, and they will screw things up. So, if Iran was to say, yeah, you could bomb Fish Island here, we'll give you this target, you drop 3 bombs off the water, take photographs of the splash and claim you're good, that would be face-saving mechanism. We wouldn't care because it's irrelevant. But we're not going to integrate these people in a meaningful fashion into a campaign as complex as this. First of all, to do that, we would have to expose extraordinarily sensitive secrets. There's a lot going on that people don't know about, a lot going on. They would have to be exposed to electronic warfare capabilities of the United States that are that have been front loaded based upon intelligence information that we've collected through a variety of means, the classification of which is often code word. And you think we're going to give the Saudis access to code word information? You're higher than a kite. We're not going to give anybody access to that. And so, no, these people won't be integrated into this campaign. They'll be sitting there, flying circles in the sky over their capitals, fearful of the next step. Iran has paused. But Iran has paused by saying, stop supporting the American attacks. Stop it. Kick the Americans out of your country. I believe that's the Iranian demand. Kick the Americans out of your country. If you fail to do so, then you are part of the problem, not part of the solution, and we will continue to attack you. And so that, I think, you're going to see as the next phase. While they're doing this pause on the Arabs, and let me just say one more thing about the Arabs. It's funny. The Arabs are very mad. No, Nima, the Arabs are very afraid. They're very afraid right now because they are seeing vulnerabilities. They are seeing these despicable, despotic despots who govern these Gulf Arab states being exposed as the fat perverts that they are. These rich perfume princes that just run around and steal money and live the high life while the rest of their people live the low life, who fly to London to whore and take drugs and drink booze and then return pretending they're pious Muslims. They're being exposed for what they are, rats, human rats. And the murder of Ali Khamenei, the martyrdom of Ali Khamenei, has empowered the Shia of these respective Gulf sheikdoms in a way that never has before. This is an existential fight. And what they're afraid of, I'll tell you what the Khalifa of Bahrain are afraid of is that the majority Shia population there marches on the royal palace and kills them all, which may be their fate. They may end up running to Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia has you worried because there is a lot of Shia in the eastern provinces that can rise up and take over the oil fields, where the bulk of the oil fields are. Kuwait has to be worried. The United Arab Emirates have to be worried. That's what's happening here. These guys are scared to death because Iran has initiated something that they can't control. See, they like the Abrams Accords because the Abrams Accords creates the fiction of, the Gulf Arab states, being for the benefit of the people. But what it means is that they've literally knelt before Israel and kissed the ring of Israel and accepted the notion of greater Israel, but they're going to bribe their people through the perception of economic prosperity. But what Iran has done now is exposed the inconsistencies and the lies and the hypocrisy of these tyrants. And it could, in fact, mean the end of one, if not more, maybe all of these pedophile despots. And that's what they are. I mean, these are not good people. These are not moral people. These are people who live the most despicable lifestyle imaginable. One that is, fueled by greed, lust, avarice, and oil money. These guys are just awash in oil money. We used to go around. We had something called Operation Tin Cup when we were as a weapons inspection, and everybody wanted to get on Operation Tin Cup. Richard Butler, come on, Richard, sue me. I love the discovery. Richard Butler, as the executive chairman, loved Operation Tin Cup because part of it was going around the Gulf and asking for donations, because the United Nations Special Commission was funded not by the direct UN budget, but by donations by member states who said we specifically fund the operations of the weapons inspectors. And one place that they would always go is Kuwait. And it was very hard. I thought I wanted to go on that, but I had second thoughts, and because it wasn't what I do. I mean, I'm a weapons inspector. I'm not a diplomat running around begging for money. But I know, I'm not going to name their names, but they know who they are. And they were falling all over themselves to go with Richard Butler on Operation Tin Cup, because you would go on the Emir's yacht, and the Emir's yacht was full of pious people when you're at the pier. And then when the yacht crossed over the territorial boundaries, the booze came out and they were just having a party. And the Emir brought out the gold Rolexes. And he gave gold Rolexes to every member of the UMSCOM party. And Richard Butler went on at least 3 of these Operation Tin Cups, and he got a gold Rolex every single time, and he never declared it. Australian government, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on undeclared assets, but you might want to look at Richard Butler's gold watches and the gold watches of the others. I mean, it's just bribery, but it shows how despicable these people are and how wealthy they are and how ridiculous they are. And these gold watches weren't used. They didn't. I mean, it wasn't the Emir saying, I'm sorry, I'm short on American dollars. Here's a gold watch. Take it to New York City and sell it for $40,000 and apply that money to send Scott Ritter into harm's way in Iraq so he can find the hidden weapons of mass destruction. That I would support. It was, hey, Richard Butler, we're playing the game, aren't we? We're living the life, aren't we? Here's a $40,000 wristwatch, because what the hell? We're here just living the big life. We're fooling the Americans. We're doing everything right. We're getting away with slant drilling and robbing the Iraqis blind. So here's $40,000 bribe to keep your frickin' mouth shut about what's really going on. And other inspectors or other members of the UNCON staff took those watches as well. This is who we're doing. This is the reality of the. Don't get me going about the Khalifa family in Bahrain and their sexual perversions. What they do with the Gulf Air stewardesses that they recruit. They use them as their own private pool of their own harem, prostitutes. They set them up in apartment buildings so that they can, sexually please them, every month. This is who they are. Leave Bahrain, drive the causeway over into Saudi Arabia, and start counting the mosques you see at the end of the causeway that are built by pious Saudis who are leaving Bahrain, understanding the sins that they have committed. This is who we are dealing with here, and this is who the Iranians are dealing with. I'm not saying the Iranians are perfect. There's plenty of information that Iranian ayatollahs and imams are as human and fallible as the next people. There's evidence of corruption. There's evidence of prostitution. There's evidence of any wrongdoing because they're human beings. But the Islamic Republic of Iran is not systemically flawed like the Saudi kingdom, of the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Iranians are pious people. Look at Ahmadinejad, who apparently was killed, by the way, the former president. He was living the most humble life possible. I mean, this is a man who could have empowered himself with riches, and he was living the life of a simple pensioner, minding his own business. He was murdered by the Israelis and by the Americans because they're angry at the role he played in getting the Iranian nuclear program up to where it was. He's the guy that was the president when all of the breakthroughs took place. So they murdered him because they're angry at him for doing that which he was legally allowed to do. They murdered him. But this wasn't a man who was sitting in retirement surrounded by pretty women and drinking booze on the side. This is a pious man who was living the life of a pious pensioner, a simple life. And we murdered him. We murdered him. We murdered him. The Iranians are literally a step above the Gulf Arab nations. I'm not picking on the Arab people themselves. I would never do that. But what I am saying is that the Arab people have allowed themselves to be governed by these despicable monarchies for far too long. These monarchies that have nothing to do with democracy, nothing to do with serving the people, but exploiting the natural resources of their countries for their own personal benefits.